We continue to preview the 2025 college football season. Our stop today is McPherson, Kansas, where we get to visit with the head football coach for the McPherson Bulldogs, Coach Jeremiah Fiscus, heading into his 7th season with the program. Coach, as we have this summer, I'd love to start off talking about 2024, 8-3, a solid season, 8-1 heading into the last couple of games, just a couple of tough losses there near the end, but it did wind up being the best record for a season since 2010. So tell us a little bit about 2024.
Well, I think that the biggest thing were that we had a lot of invested older leadership that really understood the process, that it takes 6 good days to have a really good 7th. And when I say that, I mean, we had a bunch of guys that understood, Monday's their off day. But when we talk about, what's the process? Well, it's active recovery, and it's training room, and it's treatment, and it's keeping good nutritional habits. And, we had a lot of guys that really understood and bought into, our foundational pieces and the teaching of getting better and stacking wins every day, every drill, every rep. And they kind of didn't worry about the record or anything that they didn't worry about Saturday on Tuesday. They worried about Tuesday on Tuesday.
Right.
And that's what the older investment is. We had 28 seniors on the squad last year. And they really did understand what day-to-day process of putting together a week looks like.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you talk about stacking wins, and even if they weren't looking at it, they did stack wins. I mean, there was 8 consecutive wins at one point in time in the season. One of those that seemed to me, at least, again, from an outsider's perspective, the Kansas Wesleyan win, that stopped a 9-game streak to the Coyotes there. And I would imagine it's a big win. But my question on that is, are there other goals? Like you're talking about the process and all that. Aside from record, are there things that you look at and say, hey, this is something we'd like to do? We'd like to stop the slide against Kansas Wesleyan, or we want to win a divisional championship, or whatever the case may be. Are there things like that?
Well, I mean, it's really easy to, say, hey, we want to win every game. We want to win a divisional championship. We want to make the playoffs. But all of that for us is derived off of process. It is truly teaching, because learning process and what it takes, that can serve them for the rest of their life. Like that can teach them, anybody that has a full-time job, is married, has children, has bills, understands that there are good times and hard times. But if you can learn to do the things you're supposed to do every day, you can build on and have a successful life. And so, football and life kind of transcend each other. If you can teach them, about what process is about. So my goal is to get ultimate buy-in to our core values, right? Which are accountability, toughness, and togetherness, and to get ultimate, commitment to the process of, every Wednesday practice might not be great for you as an individual, but that doesn't need to compound into I have a bad Thursday practice. It's process. Or, hey, just because we came out and had a great Tuesday practice does not mean that you're entitled to a good Wednesday. You have to go out and prepare every day for those successful things. So, my goal is ultimately, for our football team, right, is buy into and believe in and locker room. We always say it's a player-led but coach-guided team. We want them to buy into those 3 core foundational pieces and to buy into and execute and kind of commit and submit to the process of daily achievement and accomplishment.
I think I understand. Coach, we look ahead then to 2025, and as we do, you mentioned lots of senior leadership last year, and some of those seniors who have moved on will leave some gaps, I'm sure, that other players are coming in to fill. One of the players I want to mention, Nehemiah Figueroa, what a great career he had for you all, the McPherson version of Troy Polamalu, I guess, in many ways. But he on the field, I mean, obviously he got it done. 5 more interceptions this year to go with 6 the year before. Another All-American performance for him. Brandon Jones, linebacker. Kirby Lewis in the secondary. A couple of juniors who are coming back who may be a part of stepping up into that leadership role for you this year on defense.
Absolutely. Those, that's Nehemiah. He had a fantastic career for us. Came in, got done the things he needed to do on and off the field. He actually got the opportunity to graduate transfer to Emporia State University. So, which is, it's only about an hour and 15 minutes up the road. So he graces us with his presence once every 5 or 6 weeks, just to come back here, because he felt a sense of community here in McPherson with our staff. And he was a guy that, on top of football and grad school and all that, he had a job here at a gas station, and made some really good relationships with some of those people, with his manager and things of that nature. So Nehemiah was somebody that he really did understand that process and trusted. He's one of his first semester, he had a 1.0. He made straight D's.
Wow.
But when he bought into the academic process, as we use, his second semester here, he made a 4.0. So he's a guy that, he really bought into all of it, and had a fantastic career and graduated. Couldn't be prouder of him. Brandon Jones, he was, he's going to be a redshirt junior this year. And, he had a great spring. He's here right now working out and really, really going into year 2 of playing in our current defensive system. He's starting to exhibit some of his leadership. Kirby Lewis is here. He's been a 2-year contributor with a huge ceiling still, but man, he's a good football player. He's resilient. He can be coached hard. He's good with his teammates. He puts the work in. There's several other guys that are obviously involved that are doing a great job. Matt Garcia is going to be a redshirt sophomore, so in his 3rd year back there at the safety spots, and he's an all-around leader, a team guy, kind of a grinder that understands and has really bought into those processes. Gabe Goodnight is going to be a 4th-year player for us at linebacker next to Brandon, and he was kind of in and out a little bit last year, but played through some shoulder things and did a great job. And then up front, we lost some players due to graduation, and we've got some really good ones coming back. Lester Amos was an all-conference nose guard for us. Kenny Ray had a really good spring as a defensive end. Jacob Gennard transitioned from linebacker to DN and really fit really well in that role. And there's a young guy, Josh Ferguson, that grew and developed from a defensive end to a defensive tackle that we thought he had a really good spring. He's been an interesting development. He was a linebacker and a running back in high school at an 8-man school here in Kansas. So as he's learning and developing, I went through that as a player too. I played 8-man football and then didn't understand what the other 3 guys were doing, and had a redshirt year, but Josh didn't redshirt. But, those are all, guys that we look forward to having really good years. And there's a lot of other guys too that will have the, possibility to be major contributors as I look at our depth chart. There's some guys that are here working really hard, doing a really good job. So it's not to take away from the work from it that anybody's here doing now, but
right.
Those are the ones that have kind of been, a little bit battle proven, game proven type of guys.
And I know, Coach, here we are in the middle of July when we're recording this right now. A lot more is going to shape up as camp comes around here in just a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it does come about. And I love the Nehemiah Figueroa stories. Absolutely fantastic. Those are the fun ones to get to tell. And I appreciate you sharing them with us here today as we're visiting with Coach Jeremiah Fiscus on Midwest Sportsnet, previewing 2025. And I encourage you, please take the time, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We do enjoy talking small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond, and talking about the positive things as Coach has been sharing today. On the offensive side of the ball, I know that you lose some of that senior leadership from last year, some of the production. One of the positives, at least from a numbers perspective, you bring back Jaleel Brown, who was co-offensive player of the year, got conference recognition in that performance, more than 1,500 all-purpose yards, right at 1,100, I think 1,099 in rushing yards for the season, 14 rushing touchdowns, 4 more through the air. And you bring back another receiver, a leading receiver for the team last year, and Traven Lewis-Johnson. I think that might be a couple of good places to start talking about the offense.
Sure. So that's, starting with Traven. I mean, he's a guy that he's taken on a lot of leadership, particularly in the skill position rooms. He's been here. He semester ended and he didn't leave, so he's been here working. He works He works at the YMCA in town, and works out, does a lot of good things, and he's a really hard worker and very coachable, and he's just a guy that he really enjoys the work. You never have to ask him to work. You have to ask him to recover. You have to ask him to rest. And he approaches every day like it's an opportunity to work on his craft and get better. So, he's here working. Jalil had a really good spring. He worked really hard, and Jalil's a quiet guy, so you don't hear much from him. You just see him kind of doing the work, and he's looking to have a really big year. I think those are good kind of places to start on the offense. Obviously Cameron Hamid's back, who is also an all-conference player. He plays opposite of Traven, but big, long, strong, sure-handed receiver that runs pretty well. So had a really good year last year. Looking forward to seeing what he, does and this upcoming fall. And then, in terms of up front, Chris Foster returns. He was a first-team all-conference center. As he'll be a redshirt sophomore this year. Connor Donahoe is going to be a redshirt senior, plays at the guard position. Caleb Harjo is a left tackle that, came in due to injury, came in the last couple of games, but played a lot of snaps through the course of that season. And, he made an all-conference honor last year as well. So we've got some good older leadership in a couple of other guys, Anthony DeVries and Roman Jimenez on the offensive line. So we look forward to, obviously you replace two all-conference tackles. That's, those are big shoes to fill, as one of them was a fifth-year senior and one of them was a fourth-year senior. But our guys that need to replace them are they're here, they're working, they're doing what they need to do and had a good spring. And then kind of in our, tight end H-back room, we graduated 2 tight ends last year. One was a first-team all-conference guy, and the other one was a really sure-handed player. We've got 2 fullback H-back type guys returning in Brayton Doolin and Adrian Rodriguez that are, they've both done a good job in various positions throughout the course of the offense, and they're pretty reliable. So we've got a few other guys, that should be taking this next opportunity to, hey, a couple of guys at my spot graduated. This is my time to really develop and climb that ladder.
Coach, one spot that we didn't mention on offense, quarterback, is there competition for that heading into 25?
There is. We graduated Tristan Zabo, who was a 4-year starter last year. He set the all-time passing yards and all-time passing touchdown records last year. So, we've got a handful of guys that are working through it, returning off of last year's roster. We've got an Austin Jinkerson, Wyatt Smith, and Jackson Jensen. Jackson was a freshman last year. Wyatt was the backup last year. And then we've got a transfer young man named Ryan Markarian, who is currently here working too. So that's a open competition to see who can execute and operate and lead the offense.
Well, and Zabo had done a fantastic job over those 4 years and really had locked in that spot. So I thought there might be some competition at that. So another place we'll see how that shakes out in the fall and in camp. Also special teams with opportunities there for players to step up.
Yeah, we graduated Kevin Dodd, who was our punter. He was a 3-time all-conference guy. And then Maxwell Barba was our kicker last year, and he transferred out. So this year we've got open competition there. A young man that two guys that came to us, Jack Finder was here this spring, and Jason Weston will report in here in a few weeks. They're both kind of able to do both. They're able to kick and punt. And, I think that each of them have a skill set to help us fill those voids from last year's players. So we're really excited about those guys, as well as some of the younger guys that have the opportunity to develop and compete as well.
Coach, I'm really enjoying hearing about the process and more than just, I guess, a word that's thrown out there. You've really taken us through it today, and I appreciate the breakdown on that and how important that is. As we're getting to know more about the program, we've wanted to get to know more about coaches too. The question of the summer has been favorite 80s song or 80s band. So what do you think there? How do we get to know more about you there?
Oh man, favorite 80s song or 80s band. I don't think you can go wrong with like Guns N' Roses or Motley Crue.
Okay.
I don't know where AC/DC falls in there because they kind of been doing it for like 50 years, but if you want to mix some of that in there, I think all of those kind of that 80s hair rock. Mm-hmm. But I'm really not a ballad rock guy. So,
Yeah, and there were a few of those in the '80s too. They had to get on the pop scene and make sure that they got some of the music played on your everyday radio station too. But
Yeah.
when those bands played in concert, it was a little more hair and guitar and
Yeah.
weight room stuff.
I also don't think you can go wrong with just the original Metallica, like all those '80s hair headbanging slash rock. That's all pretty good stuff, really.
All right. Well, I appreciate learning about that from you and from all the coaches this summer. It gets underway. The season does 2025, August 30th, which, again, as of this recording, right at a month and a half from now, you all are at home to take on Avila in a KCAC crossover game. Then you're on the road at Bethel the next week. 6 divisional crossover games, then a bye week. Then you start divisional play. And the first game is on the road. It's in Wichita, taking on Friends. Tell us a little bit about 2025.
Oh, that's I would say that those first games present some challenges, those first couple games, because, Avila's got, new named coordinator on one side of the ball. Bethel's a whole new program, so on and so forth. And then you get into, divisional play, and like Friends is always, Coach Harrison at Friends understands how to navigate that triple option offense and does a really good job coaching his teams. You have to be, they're always he was good at Bethel. They'll be good at Friends. So you've got to really prepare for some of those things. Coach Griffin at Southwestern, they always obviously put together a really good squad. So, the biggest thing is it's again, you can't really get wrapped up in anything other than, what's it going to take for us to get a good, clean install and get these kids taught in fall camp. That's like goal one, is the time before we get to school. What is the best way for us to get things taught, get cohesion going, create some of that team accountability, those things. And then, challenge 2 is always, well, when school starts, how do we get them into routine, get them to, camp is taxing at times, but all they have to worry about is football. Well, now it's all right. You have to get them back into rhythm of how important it is to go to class and manage your business with these added responsibilities. And now you also have football. So, you're just working through those processes before you worry about who's in another color jersey.
All right. I understand. Well, camp's not too far away, Coach. So, again, we're going to watch you all. We'll be following the Bulldogs all season, but we're going to be looking to McPherson to see how some of these things shake out into camp. And, of course, week 1, August 30th, taking on Avila at home. Coach Jeremiah Fiscus, thank you so much, sir, for taking time with us today, previewing 2025 with us here on Midwest Sports Net.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.